Psalm 74 is the psalm that we're in the middle of. We left off with verse 12 yesterday. Because of the pre-recording nature of this week, I'm going to try to be brief each day and give you back some time. I'm sure you have plenty of uses for it as well. But we are in a psalm that you would call this a psalm of lament, a psalm of processing grief in the presence of God. And you don't hear a lot of talk today or teaching or preaching about the idea of lamenting, but it is a biblical practice. And if you ask me to define lamenting extemporaneously without looking it up, I would say it is the process, the experiencing of sorrow and grief as assigned by God, and the processing of it in the presence of God, with God. Embracing the grief that he is walking through with us, not ignoring it, not overreacting to it, not allowing it to make us bitter or rebellious or defiant or foolish or reactionary, but really objectively seeing grief, sorrow, tears as a substantive experience in the plan of God. And biblically responding to it. And the word for that is lamenting, grieving, feeling it, not stuffing it, not overreacting to it, but feeling it biblically, understanding it biblically, and really, in essence, bringing it to God and going through it with him. And that's what the psalmist is doing. Verses 1 through 11, this psalmist is bringing the great grief of seeing the destruction of the city of Jerusalem, and especially the temple, the sanctuary of God, and the grief and the sorrow and the loss and the pain, the deep, deep agony of that. So, my friend, this is a wonderful place to spend time if you are agonizing over anything in life. If sorrow has been your moment. I'm reminded of the song, It Is Well. When peace like a river attendeth my way, or sorrows like sea billows roll. Whatever my lot, you have taught me to say, it is well with my soul. That song is the essence of lamenting. It is experiencing the sorrow of now in the light of greater eternal truths, in the light of the promises of God. It's framing today's pain through tomorrow's promise. And that's what the psalmist is doing. And verse 12 is the turning point. For God is my King of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. This is where the psalmist decides in this moment to take the eyes off of the imminent or immediate destruction and devastation or despair and lift his eyes to God. And now the narrative changes. So we pick it up in verse 13. Thou didst divide the sea by thy strength. Thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters. Thou breakest the heads of a Leviathan in pieces, and gavest him to be meat to the people. So what are we talking about? We're talking about sea creatures, maybe very large ones, maybe ones we don't know much about in our modern era, but sea creatures that are defeated and edible, and that really represent a huge kind of power. And there's a contrast. The psalmist is saying, God, you understand the depths of the sea, the darkness of the sea, the creatures that inhabit the sea, and you even rule over them, and you even give men power over those creatures. And you even feed them. You even feed men with the creatures of darkness. So think about this metaphor, okay? First of all, the psalmist is recounting the strength of God. The psalmist in verse 12 has declared the truth of God. God, you are my king. You are working salvation in this earth. And God, you give strength. And I think the metaphor gives us the sense that God commands the darkness. God commands the deep places of life. God commands the threatening presences that are in those deep places. And God feeds us even when we go through or face deep, dark experiences. So my friend, I'm going to camp it right there for today. A lot to think about. But if you're going through deep waters, Meditate on verse 13 today, that God is strong, even in dark and deep times. So, happy Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.